Hi, this is Gary. My podcast is Mr. Brilliant Jewelry, and today Ken's going to ask me some questions about the cuts and the different shapes of diamonds and a few other questions. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to answering these questions.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Gary. I want to start off with a couple of questions to recap a previous episode that we had, because you said something that kind of led into this episode, which is going over the 4 C's. And I think that's a really good place to start, because that's how a lot of jewelers and a lot of different people just in the jewelry world identify good quality diamonds or jewelry today. So can you just talk about the 4 C's? And I know you have a little caveat to the 4 C's. You have a 5th C if you want to reveal to everybody that 5th C. But can you just highlight that and why that's like such a trend from jewelers and why they use those 4 C characteristics?
Sure. So the 4 C's, the first C is, well, it's carat, which is the weight, color, clarity, and cut.
Okay.
That's a cut grade. And like you said, the 5th C, I believe that there should be a 5th C, and that is the cost or the budget, because you can show a client all the C's and all the best. You want a D, you want a VS2, you want a great cut, and you want the biggest stone, and you tell the client it's $75,000, and they go, whoa, I only want to spend 20 grand. So I always ask the client, what is your budget? I need that as a guide so I can present to you a bunch of stones that fits in your budget.
Yeah. And I agree to that. I think that it's an interesting thing, because especially with all of the different types of diamonds that are out there, the characteristics in diamonds, the cuts, and all of these different variables add to the quality and the variables that come along with the diamond that you get, right? So I think that the biggest thing, and one thing that I didn't know, is that a cut can really impact the price. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So there's 2 things to the cut. First of all, a cut grade is actually the way the stone is cut. And when you look on a GIA certificate, you'll see that it'll say polish, symmetry, and cut grade. So if the polish is excellent, the symmetry is excellent, and the cut grade is excellent, that's the best you can get. That's the most perfectly cut stone, and it'll look amazing. So it's the light that goes into that stone will make the stone shine like crazy. Now, that's very important. But when you've got cut, but you also have the ratio of each diamond. Now, ratio doesn't really come into play when you're talking about a round stone, because a round stone is round. There's no, you're not going to have a rectangular type of round stone. You're not going to have a square type of round stone. It's going to be round.
Okay.
But when you're talking about a radiant cut, there are square radiant cuts and there are rectangular radiant cuts. Now, and also emerald cuts and possibly Asher cuts. And so what I ask the customer when they are looking for a radiant cut, what type of ratio are you looking for? Do you like the long ones? Do you like the stubby ones? Have you seen anything in a store that you like? Do you have any pictures of them? And so I just had a client recently. He wanted a natural diamond, but then once I asked him about the 5th C, he didn't really want to spend that type of money, like $400,000 on a natural diamond and a 5.5 carat stone. And so he then was open to the idea of a lab diamond. He wanted to spend 10% or less than 10% of that 400,000 retail value. And so he sent me two radiant cuts. One was kind of square, and one was a little bit long. But he wanted something that was in between. So I always recommend a 1.3 ratio. Now, a 1.0 to 1.0 ratio is a square stone.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to a rectangular stone, it can go from 1.05 to 1.10 to 1.30, all up to 1.5 or 1.6, which are really long ones. And he wanted a 1.3 or 1.32 ratio, and it was very hard to find. So my partner looked all over the world, and he only found three diamonds, three CVD lab created diamonds, which are the only ones we sell because they are identical to natural. HPHT doesn't look great at all. It's got a blue hue or a yellow hue, so I don't recommend anyone wasting their money on those. But my partner managed to find three stones,